I think it is incredibly important for us to realize that if we have not followed through with the things that we believe we should be doing in our lives, that the most important thing is to love ourselves in those moments and say to ourselves, hey, how do I move past this? What is it inside of me that I need to change? Or what is it outside of me that I need to change in order to make it so that I feel better about myself? And this is really just the key to trying to become a better human being. And personal development, all of these things that these people talk about, like, the key to it is getting sick and tired of being sick and tired. And I always say to people, I'm like, listen, you gotta get disciplined. You gotta get disciplined. You gotta get disciplined. And I find myself in so many aspects of my life lacking the discipline that I want. And so I wanted to make this video to go over some of the strategies that I've successfully used as a reiteration to myself, but also hopefully as a way to help you in trying to stay consistent and disciplined in your life. So the first thing is, I wanted to talk about vision. And it's been a while since I made a video about vision, because I kind of got sick and tired of talking about it. But I realized that every couple of months, and I would say quarterly almost, every 3 months, it's so very important for us to think about our vision again. Because our vision, it strengthens all of the reasons, all of the things that we're trying to do. It's the why behind putting in all the effort, the time, the connections, the hours at night, the early mornings. It's the essence of your willpower, is the why. And so to avoid shaping that in our lives, to avoid consistently thinking about that why, we're going to shut ourselves out of a greater force that's going to propel us forward. And that, my friend, is not necessarily something that is sustainable. Because over a series of months, when that why is lost, all of the things that were built around it will also fall apart. And so a reiteration of it is very important, but also an augmentation of it. Because there's a good chance that if we forgot the why in the first place, that there needs to be a slight change in order to make sure that it's still aligned with the type of person that we are becoming. So my why for starting Terabify has always been to elevate humanity's emotional intelligence. I believe I've gone through enough things in my life and enough interactions and seen enough things to have some level of understanding of what it means to be an emotionally intelligent person. And so I want to communicate that with the most amount of people. The reason being that I believe as technology continues to progress exponentially, as a species, we're going to have a very hard time realizing where we stand in the universe. And I believe it is our emotional intelligence that is our raw power as a creature. And I believe it's our emotional intelligence that makes us able to love and make wise decisions for large groups of people and work together and build things that don't exist, believe things that don't exist currently, hope. And so I want to make sure that those that are not training this part of themselves realize how very important it is to be emotionally intelligent in the pursuit of success in any capacity. So that's my why for doing this. Now, there's a deeper why for doing this, right? So should I successfully convince you that emotional intelligence is of use, and convince you that the tools that I have used in my life are maybe useful in your life, then what do I get in return? Well, eventually it will be money. But really, the money is a small part of it. What I really am looking for is to become a beloved person. So that's my why in life. My why in life is not to get the money. My why in life is not to convince you of things. My why in life is to have love from things, from people, from the universe. That's why I'm gonna go and spend all those hours doing the hard shit. That's why I'm gonna try to build myself up as a person, as a leader, That's why I'm going to go and find new opportunities and create new opportunities, because that's the core of it. And so the reason I'm saying this to you is because if that vision stops at I want to make money, if that vision stops at I want to convince people of X, you're not going to follow through with the making the money and the vision and the convincing people of X. So get that why straight. What is it that you want in this life? From a very soulful, necessary perspective. And the exercise that I always tell my interns and all the people that I actually talk to about this stuff is you have to think about who you were as a person when you were 8 years old and younger. I've iterated this many times, but it's such an important concept, because that person, the innate things that you did as a reaction to your environment, as a reaction to your circumstances, the way of perceiving life, that is integral to each of us. We are beyond the reaches below that age of society and our environment. We're still forming who we are as a person. And so the motivations that we have then, the excitement we have then, the sense of play we have then, the trauma that occurs to us at that age is formative into who we become as we grow, as we age. So that's why it's so very important for us to reflect back to that time. And I hope some technology comes along that allows us to actually go back and relive those memories, or become more close to those circumstances, because I think it's going to be very beneficial for humans in general. And for those parents that are out there that are raising a small child, I'm telling you right now, there's a very important set of decisions that you're going to have to make in order to determine whether or not this child is being given the opportunities that align with the things that they really enjoy doing in life, to bring out their inner genius, instead of subjecting them to years and years of things that they really are not all that good at and not all that interested at doing, and eventually having some midlife crisis. But that's a tangent. So the reminder of the vision every 3 months, integral. On top of that, writing things out. My goodness, the amount of people that I come across that expect to be productive and do not have lists, running lists of things to get done. And they say to me always, oh, invariably they say, I remember lots and lots of things. And I'm like, dude, why is it that you remember all these things and you forgot these 3 things that we talked about? And they're like, oh, well, you know, I was busy, whatever. It's like, no, it's because you don't have a systematic way of realizing what you need to get accomplished in X amount of time. You don't have SMART goals. And so writing things down is key. I'm saying the day before, you got to sit down and for a hot minute, you got to write out what you want to do. Ideally hourly. Ideally hourly, you want to set your goals for the next day. And the reason I say this is because it's so easy to assume that once we're in a routine, we're just going to do the same thing, do the same thing, do the same thing. And until you get to a point where you really know exactly what you need to be doing and why you're doing it and how long it takes to do it efficiently every day and whether or not we're making progress, it's going to be a series of experiments as to what actually works. And that requires a constant manipulation of that next day to say, okay, there's a couple other things I need to pile in here, there's a couple things I need to clean up here, these are some things I want to get done for a while. Okay, let's see how they stack up. Now Matthew McConaughey, he actually said something, and I don't know how productive a man he is, I think he has a good spirit, which is why I bring him up here. He said that it's very important that when we're writing out this list of things to do the next day, to include things that we actually are really excited to do. Include things that make life worth living. Tiny things, just to knock them off. And I couldn't agree more. honestly speaking. Life should not be, and there's a direct quote from Elon Musk, life should not be a series of solving shitty problems. Don't let your life become that. Enjoy this life. Put in the work. Be a better person. Make people feel good. But enjoy it, my friend. And the older we get, and I've begun to realize this about myself, the older I get, the more circumstances that come up that I have to complain about, that I have to say something negative about, that I can create a generalization about society or humanity or this or that. And when I think back to my 8-year-old self, dude, that kid couldn't give less of a shit. That kid was out there playing tennis and having fun and being nice to people and making jokes and doing all this stuff. Like, imagine if we can just tap back into that kid. Imagine how much friendlier the world would be. Sure, it would probably be a little bit more evil too, but at least we would have now the consciousness to be like, don't say that mean shit to people, or don't do that to someone else. Food for thought, my friend. That in the pursuit of consistency, vision, writing, accountability ideally, also I wanted to mention, but this video is getting a little long, so I'll mention in the next one. Accountability is key. You gotta have people in your life, circumstances set up where you know at a certain time, at a certain point during the week or during the day, you're gonna have to go and show up and tell people what you did. Without that, it's almost, I believe it's impossible to actually grow as a human being without accountability, without having people that we report to some degree. But I'll make a whole nother video about that. Hopefully you found this useful. If you did, smash that like button, helps me out a lot. Subscribe, throw me a comment, perhaps on the things that you're suffering with when it comes to perhaps that lack of interest in life. And that's what this video is really about, is trying to get it so that each of these days feels impactful, and each of these days feels like I'm growing, I'm doing something, I'm moving forward, instead of just like this stagnation. Don't let the stagnation kick in, my friend. Actualize your potential catalyst. This world needs you. Take care of yourself. I'll see you on the flip.